Heyo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most ironic episodes of SpongeBob. At least to my knowledge. Watching this was a pain I truly haven't felt since my chest. God, my chest. A pain I truly haven't felt since I watched Family Guy's Hot Pocket Dial years ago. Imagine what I've seen so far. Girly, Squirrely, Gorilla, Yours, Mine, and Mine. None of these compared to the viewing experience of Goodbye Krabby Patty. I'm not saying it's the worst, I'm not even saying it's worse than these episodes here, but this is not a good episode by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, this episode is pretty much the execution of SpongeBob You're Fired from a concept standpoint. You've exhausted the idea of Plankton disguising himself for the formula. You've exhausted the idea of SpongeBob being fired. You've exhausted the idea of Mr. Krabs selling out. He sold out SpongeBob for 62 cents. He sells out the Krusty Krab to investors. He sells out SpongeBob after one good review. So let's do it again and pretend like it's a big deal. What, are you gonna tell me that kids maybe haven't seen this or remember those episodes, so it's a big deal to them? Fine. That's a pretty weak point, but here's the thing, even if this was the first time, this episode still sucks for many reasons. And I will get into those now as we review SpongeBob Goodbye Krabby Patty. Since we're talking about food, I want to shout out these Switch controllers as my art shout out for the video. I know I haven't really been doing that lately, and I want to get back into that. It looks really cool and clean, and you almost want to take a bite out of it. I also want to shout out these comments here. Thank you guys for all of the love and support I've been getting these last few weeks. I know I'm just getting back into making videos after the break, so again, very motivating. So as we get into the episode, we find SpongeBob and Patrick jellyfishing. I don't understand why we need to see a bubble transition after everything they do. It just seems unnecessary. The art style comes across as, we want to be as silly as possible but spend as little money possible animating it. The facial expressions don't really scream passionate cartoon. They really nail in the coffin that SpongeBob and Patrick are having a really good time. So they chuck the good ice cream because who wants that, right? It's too fancy. No, let's get the poor ice cream. Not because we can't afford the more fancy ice cream, but because this episode is trying to tell you that their relationship is smooth. The poor versus rich element is stupid. I get it, they're friends and no amount of money will come in between them, except that they did this in porous pockets. Also, there were so many ways to hammer this point in. Maybe have a rich executive talk about how rich they are in comparison. Oh wait, no, that was Grim and Gary, wasn't it? Maybe you can have them find riches and not care and give it away. Oh wait, that was porous pockets. And a little bit of one KRABS is trash. Yeah, this looks a little hard.
When did food get so ugly?
Looks like we know why KRABS is single. Hey, he was in the money. Maybe this can work because I don't think you have to pay for a date if your date is food.
Can you imagine if they had frozen Krabby Patties at the supermarket? Oh, that'd be so convenient. Everyone in the world could enjoy them.
That's $1 million idea that I just had that you just said before me.
So they have a commercial which pretty much echoes as seen on TV and Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boys 6 in terms of the filming aspect. This guy, who is your paint by numbers, wait, no. If you had a robot paint the canvas of this archetype, it would have the uniqueness of Aang from Avatar compared to this guy. I use exaggeration very sparingly, so let me explain. This guy is your out of touch, but trying to be modern executive that exploits blah 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 just to get money. Nothing is new or interesting about this character. Speaking for myself here, I don't want to know anything about this character. He seems very uninspired and boring. So this executive tells Mr. Krabs that his perfectly fine commercial is trash, and if they want to sell the big bucks, to listen to him. He clearly has Krabs' best interests at heart. We get your cliche boardroom team. They are yes men. I mean, actually yeah, yes people. Only agreeing because, again, this special is dull.
Like an old friend, but not too old, because research shows us old is gross.
Yes. Oh, it's absolutely just gross. It's not
disgusting.
Funny you mention that because your show is one of the oldest shows on Nickelodeon that still puts out episodes continuously. But let's sweep that under the rug.
Google! Social networking!
No. Not today. So No Hat for Pat called and demanded this element of exploiting Patrick despite his stupidity back. So as you can see, they're focusing their marketing on Patrick being a simpleton to appeal to the widest audience. Mr. Krabs, being the money-hungry shell of a character he is, decides to dilute his formula to make a little bit more money.
Well, we ran some numbers and realized that you could make a lot more money if you changed the formula.
Well, then let's fill her up with filler.
A lot of people like SpongeBob Place from season 10. I don't like how it raises the question of SpongeBob cutting Mr. Krabs out of the Krusty Krab equation and making his own restaurant, and yes, that episode takes elements of Chum Fricassee, but they raise this question only to answer it with, well, the next episode cannot have this, so let's not have this alternative. Then why raise the question if you aren't going to answer it? Like here, why raise the question of what is filler if you aren't going to address it? You know a core part of your audience is aware that some of your episodes are full of filler. Now of course, no writer would say the same, but I'm sure they are aware that there is moments in the show dedicated to padding time. So why bring it up if you can't answer it? Imagine for a second if this video was titled SpongeBob Review because no one else talks about SpongeBob reviews, and I never bring up why I titled the video that way, but I do talk about SpongeBob. It's sort of that throwing a curveball distraction just to throw it with no real motive kind of thinking that truly makes this special really unneeded. Especially when this episode has filler in terms of padding out the episode and literal filler in the story. Giving some positives, I will admit that this sequence of them driving and something going on in the background is actually pretty funny. The only thing of importance here is that the episode shows parallels to the show and Krabby Patty some more. So we get the Krusty Sponge in selling out as the Krusty Krab is remodeled for no other reason than to maximize this arbitrary change. Also, if Krabs was smart, he would sell Krabby Patties here and in stores, and before you say no fast food joint does this, Checkers has been doing this with their fries for the longest. I'm skipping over this next part to show you how useless this is to anything. So now we get SpongeBob trying to spend time with Patrick, but he's surrounded by rich and quite rude folk, which ends up separating them. We get a shot of the ice cream that was too fancy, and although the ice cream SpongeBob was holding is not Rocky Road, which would have been a perfect time for it, but I guess whatever.
I'm begging you, SpongeBob, let me come back and work at the Krusty Krab Museum.
Many problems with this scene, but because of the time, let's focus on two. One, why fire Squidward just to rehire him for this joke? This is what people think filler is, and you're doing it, whether ironically or unironically, to disastrous results in terms of making a good story. You don't provide any commentary towards this accusation, but you're quick to demonstrate what it is. Give Teen Titans Go this. They at least addressed their criticism of the show and answered it. Two, you say this robot is out of character.
I love my job. Thanks for coming.
Totally out of character.
Hey Albert Squidstein, even if there was a moment where SpongeBob was given a management role in this episode, you were not there to see it. And if we're talking about when Mr. Krabs said SpongeBob is running the tour, cashiers aren't bosses because they run a cash register. You should have probably ran this through another writer. So like in No Hat for Pat, Patrick starts to feel fatigue or whatever this is, and SpongeBob goes in to help. Little does he know, contracts are contracts. Now to those who would hand-wave Plankton getting the formula here and not noticing the meta humor here, or dismissing it, or thinking that any part of this was not bad and pretty funny because of his ignorance, please explain why he would not run out but actually come back and question SpongeBob. Yes, SpongeBob said they were all fakes, but number one, he didn't say that until after he ran back, and two, why would you put a fake in a safe that no one's going to see? You see how this doesn't make too much sense? Take it. Take the formula. What are you doing? Wait, what? Why was that scene so long? How are you gonna talk about filler? Wait, hold up. This isn't a self-parody, is it? Like, you make an episode about filler, but fill it with filler and then say that you're self-aware, but here are the counterparts? Because I don't see the counterparts. I just see the self-awareness. This is truly scummy, and slapping an extra 11 minutes doesn't really help your case. Let's just finish this up. So SpongeBob makes a legit Krabby Patty and force feeds Patrick because corporate greed is bad, but force feeding someone after their problem was that they ate too much is justified. Also, perks of having one character stand and look at one fixed spot. Patrick is given free reign to say what he wants at this celebration event. Let me guess, he's so stupid he couldn't possibly say anything bad. Oh wait, that would actually be an idea, and this special seems to be lacking many. So people find out that they're fake and turn on the patty because they don't know sand. I'm just kidding, I'm not really annoyed here because the town was never smart or honest. Then we get a throwing up montage, but wait, let's not even address it, we're almost done.
Well, it's gone. Everything I spent my life building is all gone. I'm ruined. What?
For someone who loves money and did all of this for the monetary gain, that cry was very uninspired. It seemed a little fake. It was almost as if Mr. Krabs kinda knew what was coming next. Now, what low-rent hack special would portray Mr. Krabs in such a way? So straight out of Le Big Switch, the customers come back because good Krabby Patties heals all wounds. Tell that to season 6. We also have this scene here where Mr. Krabs rejects eating them out of guilt, I think, but ends up loving them. I feel like that's undeserved. Number 1, Krabs is out of this special for 1, 2, 3, most of the episode, and doesn't realize he went wrong until after he's broke. So no, Mr. Krabs didn't learn a single thing here, and he probably would do it again if he had the chance. 2, he didn't have any true remorse for letting go of what made the Krabby Patties good in the first place. Krabs learned nothing and wins in the end. But here's the most ironic thing about this special. Because it takes from so many other episodes shamelessly, there isn't a single significant thing special about this episode. And this was Goodbye Krabby Patty. Seriously, I don't want to come across as someone who just dislikes modern SpongeBob for not being pre-movie, because you know what I do like? Pineapple Invasion, Plankton's Pet, Copy Bob Ditto Pants, and quite a few more. It's not that this is a variation of something that we've seen before. It's the fact that this entire thing just screams uninspired. I don't like this special and it feels fresh out of a factory. You know, I think we should call this episode Factory Fresh. How do you feel about that? Before Viacom cuts the check or blocks this video, make sure to follow me at The Alpha J Show on Twitter or join my other social media outlets. I'm very active on Discord and I'm going to be working on the other social media outlets coming this month or next month. The links for those are always in the description below, as well as the link to my request page. If you ever have a character clash or what I reboot, how I'd write, or even a series to look at or an episode to look at, please make sure to go to that particular video in the description, clicking on that link. If you really like this video, you should check out my Fishbowl review, another episode from season 9, or my SpongeBob playlist in general. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to consider my Patreon. As always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha out.